Hello, lovely people. How are you? That bad? Yeah, second day, a little bit tired, a lot of content. Hopefully, you're going to be stuck with me for the next 30 minutes, but hopefully that's going to be interesting. My name is Frédéric Harper. Super excited to be here. This is actually there's a lot of new things for me right now. I joined the company TinyMCE 2 months ago, so TinyMCE is kind of like new for me, but at the same time, since joining TinyMCE, Moodle become a thing because, you know, we're the official, what you see is what you get, which text editor now inside of Moodle. So Moodle is new for me. MoodleMoot is new for me. That's my first conference here. And that's obviously the first time that I'm speaking here. Actually, it's not true. I gave a talk yesterday, so that's my second time now today speaking at MoodleMoot. And I want to apologize in advance. I was sick last week. I still have lingering. I'm not contagious, don't be afraid, but I'm still coughing, sneezing, and stuff like that. And I also have my beautiful, I was sick, sexy voice. So actually, that's the benefit for you today. So today, really happy to talk about accessibility. I'm nowhere near an accessibility expert, but I'm passionate about the topic. And today, I want to talk about being accessible by design, how on-the-spot accessibility checking transform course creation in Moodle. The title may be a little bit misleading. I think at the beginning, my team wanted me to talk about like one of our feature in TinyMCE Premium for 30 minutes. I didn't want to bore you. That's a really nice feature, but talking about it for 30 minutes may be too much. So what I decided to do today, and if you read the description, it's really kind of like an introduction about accessibility, understanding why it's important, why should you care about, learning a little bit about it without becoming an expert, but also I'm going to showcase one of the premium feature, the accessibility checker we have in TinyMCE. If you were on my talk yesterday where I spoke about a lot of premium feature for an hour, I shown you that plugin also, but today is going to have a good part on accessibility in itself. So, oh yeah, during the talk, feel free to take pictures, either of my beautiful face or my beautiful slides. Feel free to share things that you agree, disagree, things that you learn on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, name it. Everything is public information, so please feel free to share about them. So when we think about accessibility, this is usually the first thing we think about. People that have like physical limitation. And I think I'm drinking in someone else's bottle, but that's going to have to do it for now. I was already sick, so it's fine. So when we think about accessibility issue, quite often we talk about only physical limitation. And this is the thing that we know maybe a little more compared to other type of accessibility issue. But accessibility encompasses a lot more things than just like physical limitation. It can be about auditory issue. If you talk with me at the booth, if you came to a booth and you talk with me, I was getting closer to you. I'm hard hearing. I have hearing aids. It may not look like that. They're super tiny. You don't see them. Actually, the technology is going crazy right now. But, you know, I have accessibility issues sometimes because I'm hard hearing. So those things, you may not see them, but they're out there. And it's one of the accessibility issues that people can have. It can be, I struggle with that word in English, neurological was, well, yeah, good enough. Yeah, you understood what I meant. Yeah, okay. It's related to the brain. This is why we use synonyms. It can be problems that are related to the brain. It can be cognitive issues also. Yeah, there are a lot of people in that room that are maybe too young to know what is that image. So it's a floppy disk. This is what we use to put things like save stuff on the computer. Some people are older than that. Yeah, looking at you like you known before the floppy disk. But, you know, they didn't have a lot of space. It's not like right now, like everything is connected to the cloud. My phone right now has so much more memory than like my first computer, which is like just unthinkable, but like it's part of everyday life. But, you know, memory issues can be about a lot of things. I have ADHD, and I have a weird memory, which I still don't know after all those years to how to categorize my memory. So I have a really good memory about a couple of things and a really bad memory about a lot of things. So I talked to a couple of people here. You told me your name. I do not remember your name at all, so don't take personally, but memory issues can be part of accessibility problem. Learning disability, also again, I'm talking about the things that I know, but ADHD, again, I'm really bad about learning things. I'm good about learning some other stuff. I still don't know how to categorize those ways of learning that are, like, I was not a good student, so I don't know why I'm here talking at Moodle. Like, I was not a good student, I was not a good learner, but it's part of my job day to day. I need to learn new stuff. So learning disability can be a problem that we don't think about when we think about accessibility. Obviously, motor skills issue, physical limitation are part of it. Some people are struggling to use the keyboard when they access website, when they access courses, when they access your application. So keep this in mind. But it can also be about speech issue that can give trouble. And when I say speech issue also, it's not just about someone that struggled to speak. I mean, quite often you follow a course, you need to discuss with people, discuss with the teachers, or you need to leave information in an audio version, and what about if the language is not your first language? Like right now, I'm giving that talk in English, but English is not my first language. I speak French. English is my second language. I learned it a couple of years ago, but hopefully you understood everything that I'm saying right now. I consider myself bilingual, still have an accent. There's still words that I'm struggling, like neurological, yeah, that word. But, speech issue can be a problem also when we talk about accessibility. And vision can be a problem too. So it can be as quote unquote simple as me, like just struggling to see so far away. So now you're all beautiful because I removed my glasses. Oh my God, now that's a different story. But vision is also part of the problem, vision impairment at different level. The bonus with accessibility is that now there's all those limitations, different categories of limitation that I'm talking about right now, but the bonus is that if you do a great job about accessibility, you get other benefits that are going to improve the accessibility of your course, even with people that don't have specific challenges. Usually, you're going to be able to deserve your content in multiple type of devices, multiple hardware, no matter the viewport, no matter the size of the device, the size of the screen. So usually, you're going to give a better experience to those users. People that are getting older, they may not have those limitations before, but even myself, I don't consider myself old, but I'm so far away from being 20 years old, and my back knows it, seriously. So even when we get older, we start to have limitations that we didn't have before, so that's gonna help elder people to access to that content, and people that start to have those limitations. But it can also be situational limitation. I mean, if I try to do the split like that, you can be sure we're going to have to go to the hospital after. I'm not able to do something like that. But think about, I don't know, I live in Canada. We have sport, winter sport. You do go skiing, you broke an arm. During that time, I have limitation. That's going to be solved after a while. My arm will heal itself. I'm going to remove the cast, and now I'm going to be able again to work on my computer properly. But if you remove my right hand, I'm not good, with just one hand, but that's going to be situational. So we need to think about that also when we think about accessibility, but also situational, issues that may not be related to me, depending on my environment. So this example is that sometimes I have no issue to read stuff on my laptop, no matter the contrast in color, no matter the size of text. But if I go outside and the sun is over me, I'm going to struggle to get the information that I want to, because the sun's gonna make things unreadable, and it's maybe gonna be more difficult. So by being a little more accessible, it's gonna give chances also for those situational environment accessibility issue that people may have. And lastly, this is a slot, I don't know if I said the right pronunciation in English, but you understand what I meant. Basically, it's just also people that have slow internet connection. A lot of people laugh because AOL recently announced that they were stopping the dial-up service. And a lot of people are like AOL still doing dial-up? And I'm like, yeah, I live in the city. It's not a problem. I have high-speed internet since forever. When I was younger, that was a problem. Like, it was dial-up, it wasn't a phone, it was super slow. If someone took the phone at the same time, I was losing internet. Yeah, some people remember. Like my first allowance, I was using it to pay a second phone line. Yeah, I'm a nerd. To be sure that I could access internet without having issue with the phone. But anyway, just to say that, like, people that have slow internet connection, there is a lot of rural people that don't have high-speed internet. There is a lot of countries and places. Actually, just after the conference, go back to your hotel around like between 6 and 9 p.m. The internet's going to be slow no matter where you live. Everybody's going to be internet. The internet at the hotel is not super fast. By the way, just a small thing about sloth. They're one of the slowest animals on Earth. Just a fun fact. When they're threatened, so when their life depends on their speed, they go about, I think it's 0.27 kilometers per hour. And this is the fastest they go. Just to give you an idea, a human that just just chilling, like I'm just walking and I'm not in a hurry, will go about 5 to 6 kilometers per hour. So a sloth that is life dependent, like going from point A to point B, is going to walk or quote unquote run like at least, I don't even know maths, like 20 times less faster than a human. So I thought it was a great image for slow internet connection, unrelated to accessibility. But still, when you create your content and you make it accessible, that will hopefully help also people with slow internet connection. So Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the web, he's also, I forgot his title, I think he's still the chairman of the W3C, said that the power of the web is in its universality, accessed by everyone, regardless. This is important. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect of the web. This is the guy who created the web. This is why we're here right now. Moodle would not exist without the web. Most of us wouldn't have a job. Actually, me, I wouldn't have a job without the web. This guy invented the web and say like, hey, it's part of what the web should be. And we forget about that because most of us, we don't even know what accessibility means in the end of the day. And quite often it's an afterthought. The beauty, or not, depending where you sit, is that now there are laws that, quote unquote, depending where you live, force you. Those are just some example. The European Accessibility Act, American with Disability Act, the ADA, Canadian, also Canadian Standard on Web Accessibility, Germany, Equality Act, Disability Discrimination Act. So now, government entity realize that it's important to make the content accessible. For some of those laws will mostly just apply for government entities or public entities, but there are laws like the EAA in Europe that say like now even private corporations need to have their content accessible to people. And it's important. So what does that mean? There is a guideline that is called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, the WCAG, which is how we define what is accessible on the web. And there's basically 3 levels of accessibility. So the first one is the must-have accessible. So that can be like, it's the basic stuff that you need to do to call yourself accessible, which is going to give some users access to your content. So that can be to be sure that you have a alt tag to your image, could be sure that maybe, I think alt tag is a good example for this one. You have the AA, which is what you should have. And this is what is needed for most of those laws out there. You should reach the level AA, which is the should have, which give access, make your content accessible to most users. So the first one was to some users. This one is to some users. That may be things around, having the great like color contrast. So you're sure that, because visibility is not just about I'm seeing correctly or not. In my case, I'm color blind. Not color blind in terms of like I see black and white, which people may not know there's different levels. So I don't see in black and white, but there is some kind of red with brown that my brain is like, that's just the same color. There is some kind of like yellow and green that my brain, and it's not because I'm stupid, it's just my eyes are like, yeah, no, that's the same color for me. So if you did the test where you have a number with a little bit of dots in different colors, I can see some of them, I cannot see on some of others. So if you don't have a great contrast between your background color and foreground color, that won't make your content accessible for someone like me, me as an example. So yes, I have a lot of issues in my life, but I'm happy to share them, a great example. And the third one, which is a little more rare, it's a AAA, it's good to have. And this one is to make your content accessible to everyone. So we cover all the cases with AAA. So that can be as far as you have video content, you need to have a version of that video with sign language, as an example. So this one is usually not something that is required by law. It's always a good thing to have. The more you're going to be accessible, the better it is for you, the better it's going to be for everyone. But usually that's going to be like in the double A type of accessibility that is required. So what is the WCAG? What is, why do we have those standards? So the first one is to try to make your content perceivable. What does that mean? Providing a text alternative for non-text content. Sometimes we use image as part of our content. And it's really important, it's part of the content in the sense that it's not just an addition to help people that are a little more visual. If you remove the image, I do not understand your content, because it's important. So it's important to give alternative to non-text content, provide captions, another alternative for multimedia. So this, I do not invented this. It's part of the WCAG, so I'm just repeating that for people that are new about that. Create content that can be presented in different ways, including by assistive technologies, without losing meaning. So one of the things I won't have the time to do today, but I really want you to do it. Try to go on your website, try to go on the university website, your personal website, and use a voiceover tool. Use a screen reader. You're not going to like the experience. It's really difficult because most of the websites are not accessible. So that's the first test you should just try to do for fun, because we're privileged enough that I assume most people in the room, if you're listening to me, there is no sign translator right now, you're able to hear me with my beautiful, sexy accent and voice. But try a screen reader on any application, and you're going to see how it can be difficult for people that are visually challenged to consume the web. So doing those kind of things can be helpful. Make it easier for users to see and hear content. It makes your content operable. What do we mean by that? It means make all functionality available by keyboard. So it may not be easy for you. You're like with the mouse. It's easy with the mouse. I point where I go. But for some people, they need to go with the keyboard. So having access on the keyboard and all the shortcuts and being able that, if I click on tab, 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 it follows the content instead of going everywhere on the page and where it doesn't make sense. Give users enough time to read and use your content. Do not use content that causes seizure or physical reaction. Really important. Help users navigate and find content. Make it easy to use inputs other than keyboard, because some people cannot use the keyboard, so it's important to think about that too. And making your content understandable. What does that mean? Make the text readable and understandable. Make content appear and operate in predictable ways. I know sometimes we like to do things in the web and flashy stuff and great animation, but it's not accessible for a lot of users. It may be nice, it may be great design, it may be great animation, and congrats to your team, but it's not accessible at the end of the day. It helps user avoid and correct mistakes, also make it understandable in that way, and robust in terms of let's try to make the thing that will be as much as possible future-proof. So maximize compatibility with current and future user tools, and by following the standard, that's going to help you to make this happen. So the WHO organization in the United States estimated that there are an estimated of 1.3 billion people with disabilities. That represents 16% of the world population. So if I'm not that bad at math, it's about 1 out of 6 people in the room that have some kind of disability here in different ways. It may not be super restrictive, but it's still a disability. I mean, as I told you, I'm hard of hearing. Right now, I can have a discussion with people, but we had a party on the first day in Moodle with live music and so many people in the bar. Having a discussion with people with me was I was just nodding to people. It was oh yeah, but I was not hearing because it was too loud, too much music. So it may not be in all cases, but it means that 1% out of 6 has some kind of limitation. So it means that 1% out of 6 may have trouble to access your content. So when we think about accessibility, there's really concrete things that we can do. Mostly it's targeted to developers, like people like developing the content, but also there are things that make sense when you write and you create the content. You do not need to be a developer, but headings should be marked as heading. You know, sometimes we're going to just put like what should be a headers and just make it in bold and like, yeah, okay, people will understand that as a header. Yes. You, me, someone else in the room, someone who uses a screen reader, that won't be clear that that's the beginning of a paragraph. That won't be clear that's the beginning of a section. Headings should be applied in sequential order. So if I use the screen reader because that's the easiest example, but if I use a screen reader and my screen reader is like H1, blah, 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 H3, blah, 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 as a user who cannot see that I'm not missing content, I'm going to look at this, I'm like, oh, my reader may miss the H2, like maybe I missed something important in the course. I'm not going to know what's happening. ID attributes should be unique. If you're a developer, you want to do other stuff, you can use classes to apply different styling to the same things, but ID should be unique. Images, this is my pet peeve, should have alt text or mark as decorative if they were not important for the content. Adjacent links with the same URL should be merged, so there is no confusion. List should be marked as list. You know, sometimes we're just going to use a dash and do a list, and like it's not using the properly list from the tool, like in TinyMCE. You have like a bullet list or numbered list. Like instead of writing one dot to yourself, use those options because that generates the proper HTML tags. So those assistive tools will know that like it's a list. Be clear to someone that is, as an example, visually impaired or have issues to look at the content. Color contrast also must be compliant. I don't remember all the rules, but I think for big text, like the ratio between your background and foreground should be like a ratio of 7. There are tools out there that's going to help you to understand, like if you're choosing the right color. As an example, I know I said I'm passionate about accessibility, but that presentation at first was not accessible. Like I didn't have a good color ratio. So I went with an external tool. I put like, okay, my gray should have been like a little bit darker. So I changed the color to make it a little darker. So people in the room that may be visual impaired or have issues seeing something like a green that would have been a little bit lighter. Now it makes more sense. It makes my presentation accessible. And tables should have headers. So those are just some examples. There is a lot more rules out there. The thing though, is that I don't expect you to get out of that talk and remember everything I just said. There's a lot of information. Accessibility can be fun or not, depending on your point of view, but there's a lot of things to remember. And I think my goal here is to incentivize you, my God, incentivize you to, understand that it's important, you need to do it, you don't need to be an expert, but there are tools out there that can help you to make your content accessible without knowing everything. And one of those tools, guess what, is part of one of the premium features of TinyMCE. So let me demo you one of the tools we have. It's called the Accessibility Checker. So that's going to help you to maintain legal compliance because as we said now, there are laws and hopefully there's going to have more laws. And yeah, we can think that like, pardon me the word, but they may be a pain in the ass sometime because like, oh no, we have to change all those things and make it accessible. And like, it's not important to me because, I don't need things to be accessible. But let's think about the other people. So I think it's great that someone somewhere is forcing your hands to make things accessible. And I'm the first one. Now, I'm a developer advocate, which means that I talk more about tech than I do tech. But when I used to be a developer, if I want to be honest, accessibility was an afterthought because it was a little more work. But it was a little more work because I did not know accessibility because it was not part of my process when I was developing software. Once as a developer, you learn about those things, you integrate them, it's easier to be more accessible when you create your code. It's going to facilitate screen reader use and guide creators without being developers. So let me give you a small demo. I don't want this to be a full product pitch, but still, I work for TinyMCE, so I want to show you, and you all use TinyMCE because you use Moodle. It's a premium feature though, but if I go in my Fred TinyMCE super duper course, and I go in this one, that course, so it's just like there's a logo, there's a list. Please don't follow that course. You won't get a certificate at the end. It's not a really interesting course to follow. But if I go in settings here, I'm going to maximize this to show you how it goes. And here, there is a lot of accessibility issues that you may not see because it's not your expertise, because I'm not looking at a code. But I have that little guy here that says, like, stop, your content is not accessible. Don't do that. So if I click on it, That accessibility checker will check the content within TinyMCE, so it's not checking everything in Moodle. There are other vendors that do that. We concentrate on TinyMCE content, so the course creation, and that's telling me like, hey, Fred, good job on the course, but there's 8 accessibility mistakes. And it will tell me in words that I understand, as I'm not an accessibility expert. So I'm gonna say like, hey, you know what, introduction here, looks like it should be a title, it should be a header. So the tool, in some cases, will be able to repair the content for me. So here, that's telling me like, hey, this should be a header. Is it the case? Ignore, or no, it's the case, you're right. Yeah, no, that should be a H1, that's the beginning of my course. So I'm repairing that, and now that's a H1. If I go look at the code, that's gonna be H1 HTML tag. Second error, now I'm like, oh, I went from 8 errors to 7. I fixed one. And it may look, those things may look like, yeah, that's just a small change, Fred. But again, try this with a screen reader. You're gonna thank me after when we fix those issues. The second one is like, hey, Fred, actually, the accessibility checker doesn't know my name, but I hope that somewhere in the code he knows that it's Fred. So the accessibility checker is like, Fred, that should be a list. This one is not able to fix for reasons. So here, what I'm gonna do it myself. And yes, that looked like a list visually. There's those asterisks, and for me, that can see the content and make sense. But again, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the numbered list here, and I'm gonna fix it myself, manually, and I'm gonna go, yeah, that's fine. I have the, I fix it. So if I go back here, I'm like, oh, now I have one less mistake. So that tool is interesting because even if I don't know, like here, you know, that should be a header, but it's not a right header, it's a H3, that should probably be a H2 because I don't have H2 before, so you know, having a proper order in headers. So if I'm like, why? Like, should I care about that? I click on more info. That's going to bring me to the TinyMCE docs where I'm going to have more information about why should I care about that. And it's even pointing to the WCAG, the WCAG documentation. If I really want to, if I want to nerd out about like why should I care about that, that's going to be there. So just a tool that is part of TinyMCE that doesn't need you to be an expert in accessibility, but will correct most of the accessibility issues that is happening within your content. Just a small demo about that. So to finish, I have only 2-3 minutes left. Judith Human, which has the longest title in the history of titles. She's the U.S. Department of Education Assistant Secretary of the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Service, said in 2012 that for people without disabilities, technology makes things convenient. Pose for dramatic effect. For people with disabilities, accessibility makes things possible. So I know now, especially if you're in Europe, you have laws that basically force you to make things accessible. But even if you live in a place where you're not forced to make things accessible, do it for the people. Do it because that's the right thing to do. Do it because every person, no matter their limitation, should have the right to have access to your course. Of course, if they pay your university, or I don't know how that works, but like if I pay and I have a subscription or I'm a student, I should have access to the content that is created online. So the small feature that I've shown you, it's part of the premium feature of TinyMCE, so it's a paid feature. For those of you that were in my talk yesterday, I'm not a salesperson, so I'm not the right person to talk about those things, but we have Quadjo at our booth that can talk to you about if it's something that is exciting to you. But in the end, my goal was really to introduce you to accessibility. Hopefully that gave you a little more information about accessibility. Hopefully that helps you to understand that it's important, and there are a lot of tools out there, not just how, there's a lot of tools out there that helps you to make it happen, even if you don't have that expertise. So on that note, my name is Fred, super happy to be here. If you have any questions, I think I'm running out of time, but I'm gonna be outside of the room. We also have a booth. I'm gonna be there until the end of the day. I'm gonna be there tomorrow. I'm gonna be at the party tonight. Do you have a costume? Yeah, don't get so excited. Oh my God, did I bore you that much in the last 30 minutes? So yeah, feel free, outside of the conference, if you have any questions, send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I offer free coffee chat. It looks on the picture, I look like a friendly person. I know not in person, but on the picture, at least I look like a friendly person. So come talk to me, and thanks for your time. Have a good rest of the conference.